Alistair Scott.
Mr Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I rise in support of this bill. All facets of this bill, sir, support the employee. The paid parental leave aspect, the enforcement rules, and of course the elimination of the on-call feature of the zero-hour contracts. Mr Speaker, the opposition think they're the only ones that care about the employee. This bill demonstrates that this side, under the leadership and initiative of Minister Woodhouse, does care about the employee. Alongside increasing minimum wages, alongside voting for TPP, we are a party that supports jobs, we support the employee. Mr Speaker, with regard to the zero-hour contracts, that was the case, the issue was about reciprocity within the existing law. There was not an appropriate balance between what the employee and the employer had in that relationship. And so it was really around the consideration that the employer was giving to the employee for the services that that employee was giving or being made available, giving hours available to that employer. This balance has been rectified. The balance is much more fair. There is adequate consideration for the service that the employee now gives to the employer, and that is through the call feature that's still there, so the employers can still have an employee on call. But of course, now there must be a reasonable justification, or in fact, certain justification with reasonable consideration. And that's all under section 67E3. Those two conditions must be met before anyone can be on call. And that, to me, sir, is the nexus of this bill. Mr Speaker, there are considerations inside the bill, some guidance to the employer-employee when they need to consider what is reasonable. So it's proportion of hours is one of those things. So where an employee has only been given minimum hours, minimum guaranteed hours, say of half an hour per week in the extreme example, but is expected to be on call for the other 39, then you would expect that reasonable consideration to be much larger than if the situation was more balanced. So it is good that this bill has those considerations inside of it to give guidance to the employer and the employee. That reasonableness is also, or that reciprocity, that balancing of consideration is also there in the clauses that relate to cancellation of shifts. And of course, it is only fair that if an employee turns up with very little notice or no notice, that adequate and fair and reasonable consideration should be given. Mr Speaker, this is a very good bill. This is a fantastic bill for the employee in all respects. And I thank and note and acknowledge the collaboration across party, as other speakers have done before me, and I commend this bill to the House.